I'm Clay.
And I'm Ryan.
I heard that Jeff's talking about marriage today. We're all pretty excited about marriage. So Ryan and I thought that maybe we could bring some wisdom to the subject.
Right, so we've got some killer marriage tips that are gonna knock your socks off. So, let's get this party started, and we're gonna help out marriages all across the country.
Let's roll with the tips. When you get the chance, finish your wife's sentences
For her.
That way, she will know that you know where her sentences are going.
Because that says, I know you and I love you, and you're predictable, but in a good way.
Yeah. And when you go on vacation, have a really good time, but make sure that she knows exactly how much it's costing. Remember, allowing her to feel guilt is a good thing.
Right, you are. Because guilt is actually just an acronym for good financial stewardship.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Dude, it doesn't make any sense.
It does, though.
Whenever you get in an argument, while she's speaking, use that time to think of what you're going to say next. Should go like this. She's speaking, and you can be thinking. And then when she's done speaking, you can have that excellent comeback.
Because that's when all the killer comebacks happen.
Yeah. Surprise your wife by planning a trip for you and your buddies. It's important that she knows that you are tending to your needs.
Because tending to your needs gives you the ability to take care of her needs.
Yeah.
You know, putting your kids in timeout can be effective for most parents, but putting your wife in timeout can also be effective. Putting your spouse in the timeout chair can give her some time to think about things from a different perspective, preferably yours.
Yeah, and if you get any pushback, be sure to let her know that you're having a hard time telling her apart from the children.
That's classic.
Yeah. If your wife wants to buy something, make the sound of a cash register when she does that. Yeah. That way, when you do that,
Let's do a little role play.
yeah, that's right. How about we do that? That sounds good. Okay, babe, I want to buy some skinny jeans.
Cha-ching!
Honey, I want to buy some bread.
Cha-ching!
All right, thank you guys. Those are some really, really horrible tips.
Okay.
I guess he doesn't like it.
All right.
Your killer tips, I think, would actually kill a lot of marriages.
So we're at an impasse here.
Awkward.
Hey, Jeff, I got an idea, though. Let's keep this thing rolling and do the robot, and then we'll send this thing off with some fun. You know what I'm saying? You want to do that with us?
No.
No, shoot yourself.
Fine.
Thank you, Clay and Ryan, for some really, 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 really bad marriage advice. Listen, we get lots of bad marriage advice in this world. We can find it all sorts of places, even at church some mornings. One person who really wants to give you some bad marriage advice, though, is the liar and the father of all lies. And we've been talking about that for the last couple of weeks. We've been talking about the lies we live by, and that Satan's strategy is to convince you of a lie. Some of those you just heard, those marriage tips, that's a lie. That's not going to help your marriage. If you believe those things and you live those things out, you're going to have trouble in your marriage. That's Satan's strategy, to convince you of a lie and to watch you live the lie out. And one of the areas that Satan loves to attack is your marriage. Now, Satan is evil, he is bad, but he is not dumb. He is smart and he is strategic. And one of the best ways, most strategic ways to impact families and churches and communities and nations is to destroy marriages. So your marriage is one of the number one targets for Satan. And he's going to target your marriage. And as we've been going through this process, we're beginning to see that the way he tries to destroy your marriage is to convince you of a lie. If he convinces you of the lie, he steps back while you do all the work. He convinces you of the lie. When you live that lie out, what you experience is death, and you carry out the ministry and the work of Satan, not of God. He calls you to live out the lie. Now, the good news for us is that we don't have to do that. In Jesus Christ, we have discovered the truth. In fact, the verse we've been talking about each week here is John chapter 8, verse 31, where Jesus says this: "To the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, 'If you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.'" Jesus says, if you follow his teaching, he says, if you listen to me and not to the evil one, you're going to know the truth, and the truth is going to set you free from the lie. The truth is going to set you free from death. What you're going to experience when you live out the truth is life. Whose ministry and mission you're going to carry out when you listen to the truth is Jesus' ministry and mission. So what we want to do is we want to identify the lies from our culture, the lies that we've internalized, the lies that we live by, and we want to claim the truth and begin to walk in truth that sets us free. All right, so that's the process that we're doing. Now, when it comes to the area of marriage, man, there's so much to talk about. I mean, the lies that I could choose from this week to talk about when it comes to marriage it's just incredible. So I've had to just narrow it down, just pick a few. And I've picked 4. And I'm going to talk about these 4 lies, trusting that I could talk about a whole lot more. But if you'll trust Jesus in any one of these areas right here, if you'll believe and accept his truth, begin to live it out, I believe we don't have to cover them all, because God only reveals it a little bit to you at a time. If you'll trust him in these areas, take a step of faith, begin to live into this, you're going to experience truth, you're going to experience life, you're going to experience God working in a fresh way in your life. All right, so here's the first lie. Lie number 1. It's okay to lie sometimes. Right? I mean, don't we? We joke up at that in marriage, don't we? It's okay to lie sometimes. Some of you guys may have seen this movie right here called Liar, Liar, when Jim Carrey explains why this is true.
Monster Max!
Godzilla, you can't play catch?
I'd like to, but I can't right now. Max, I gotta talk to you. Your mommy told me about that wish you made last night. It came true, Max.
Really? You mean you have to tell the truth?
Yes!
No matter what?
No matter what!
Is wrestling real?
In the Olympics, yes. On Channel 23, no.
Will sitting too close to the TV set make me go blind?
Not in a million years.
If I keep making this face, will it get stuck that way?
In fact, some people make a good living that way. Now listen, Max, you gotta do something for me. I need you to take back that wish.
So you can lie?
Yes, but not to you. You see, Max, sometimes grown-ups need to lie. It's hard to explain, but Look, here's a good example. When your mommy was pregnant with you, she gained a good 40 pounds. There was nothing she wouldn't eat, and Daddy was scared. But when she'd ask me, how do I look, I'd say, honey, you look great. You're beautiful. You're glowing. If I'd have told Mommy she looked like a cow, it would have hurt her feelings. Understand?
My teacher tells me real beauty's on the inside.
That's just something ugly people say. Max, no one can survive in the adult world if they have to stick to the truth. I could lose my case, I could lose my promotion, I could even lose my job. Now, I need your help, Max, okay?
You have to lie sometimes, don't you? I mean, the whole movie premise is about how crazy it would be if you had to tell the truth all the time. And we all know that you don't do that, right? It's okay to lie sometimes, right? About the little things. Now, not about the big things. We understand that, but about the little things, the little white lies, the things just to get along, the things just not to cause trouble in your relationship. It's okay to lie sometimes. That's a lie. Look what the scripture says. The scripture in Proverbs chapter 6, beginning in verse 16, says this. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. Now, this is really cool right here. Sometimes the Bible's difficult to understand at times, but sometimes the Bible is really, really clear. And this is one of those times when the Bible's being really, really straight up. I mean, here, you can't miss this. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. It's really, God just doesn't like this. All right, you don't have to wonder. Here they are. He's going to list them for you very plainly. Haughty eyes, that's pride. A lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up dissension in the community. 7 things that are detestable to God. And listen, each of these 7 things, they destroy relationships. That's why God hates them. It's not that God's just a hater. It's that these things destroy what God values, which is relationship. And God, these things are detestable to him. And right here in the midst of this list, number 2, right after pride, and pride's a big one, number 2 is a lying tongue. A tongue that tells lies. Now, it doesn't say God detests people who tell big lies. God detests people who tell something other than white lies. It just says that God detests a lying tongue, a tongue that does not speak the truth. Jesus later on would simply say to people, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Simply tell the truth. Don't tell a lie. Regardless, simply speak the truth. Here it is. Jesus says, let your yes be yes, your no be no. God hates a lying tongue. Now, most of us, we say, you know what? I get that. You shouldn't lie about the big stuff. But we like to draw distinctions between the big things and the little things, right? We like to draw distinctions between our intention when we lie. Here's the problem with drawing a distinction between the big things and the little things when you tell a lie. 98% of the things that you discuss with your spouse, are they big things or little things? They're little things, aren't they? I mean, most of me and Susan's conversations aren't super important, giant conversations around the dinner table every night. We're making major life decisions. Most of the conversations we have are, did you put gas in the car? Did you pick the girls up from school? Did you whatever? How are you doing today? How was work? It's lots of little stuff. 98% of our conversation is little stuff. And if it's okay to lie about the little things, it's okay to lie about, guess what? 98% of the stuff that you talk about. Because most of the conversation that you have with your spouse, it's not the big stuff. It's the little stuff. Is it okay to lie about the little thing? Truth is, most of us think it is. I mean, we wouldn't say that necessarily, but we laugh about it in marriage, and we talk about this all the time. Don't tell your wife her bottom looks big, in that dress kind of thing. Don't say this, don't say that. I mean, when your spouse asks you, are you angry at me? No, I'm not angry at you. Y'all done that? I'm not angry at you. How are you? I'm great. Probably not true. I mean, even guys get that one sometimes. But the truth is, many of us think it's okay to lie sometimes. And the problem that happens when we do that is every lie is a seed of doubt that we sow into our relationship. Every lie sows a seed of doubt that I wonder if you're telling the truth about the rest of the thing. And intimacy, which is all about what relationships and the marriage relationship is about, it's about intimacy. Intimacy is all about trust. And all the lies, they sow distrust into the relationship. Every lie is a small seed that you throw out there into the ground, and it grows. And it causes disunity, it causes distrust, it is dishonesty, and it begins to break apart the relationship. Listen, here's the truth. Here's the truth that the Scripture wants us to know. Lies destroy relationship. Lies destroy relationship. Every lie destroys the relationship. Lies destroy relationship. This is the truth that we need to internalize. And if we live out this truth, listen, it causes us to live our marriage in a different light. Now, some of us say, well, you know what? I mean, I get that, but it's really hard to do it, to tell the truth all the time. Of course it is. It is difficult to tell the truth. Sometimes it leads to uncomfortable situations. But when you tell the truth all the time, what you sow are seeds of honesty and trust and intimacy. I was riding with somebody who was doing some work for me, and we were riding around in his car, and somebody called that he was also doing work for, and while he was on the telephone with them, he lied to them. I mean, I was right there. He told them a bald-faced lie. And then when he got off the phone, I said, man, you didn't tell the truth. He said, oh, man, I know that, but I'd never lie to you. You know what? Every other thing he ever told me, I kind of began to wonder about. Is that really true? Is that the truth? What happens when that happens in your relationship? When every time your spouse tells you something, you go, no, that's true. When it's okay to lie about 98% of the things that you talk about, that's what happens. That's what Satan wants you to believe. It's okay to lie about some things. If you don't want to have that difficult conversation, it's okay to tell a lie. If you don't want to hurt your spouse's feelings, it's okay to tell a lie. If that doesn't really matter to anybody, it's okay to tell a lie. See, the devil wants to convince you that it's okay to lie sometimes because he knows what those seeds grow up into. And he knows that those seeds are eventually going to cause disunity. They're going to destroy the intimacy of your relationship. Lies always destroy relationships. Lies always destroy relationships. That's the truth that Christ wants you to know. Lies destroy relationships. All right, that's a simple one, right? We get that? Y'all with me? You agree? That's good. We get that. It's hard to do. All right, now listen. This doesn't mean in your relationship, when you realize this, always telling the truth doesn't mean that you always have to give an answer. Susan, I like to mess with Susan sometimes because she's very honest. She tells the truth. And so sometimes we'll be riding around the car, and I'll ask her a question like this. Susan, if I die today, what guy at church would you marry? That's a good question. You know what Susan's response is going to be? I'm not going to answer that question. It's okay to say, I'm not going to answer that question, all right? Telling the truth doesn't mean that you have to be mean, that you have to blurt out everything that comes to your mind. If somebody says you think about it, it's okay to say, I'm not going to answer that one. All right, and that's what a lot of us need to learn to say a lot of the time. I'm not answering that question. All right? Lies always destroy relationships. All right, here's the second one right here. Second truth we need to deal with. My spouse completes me. Now, I can't do this without showing you this clip right here because you all know this is what you're thinking about right here. Watch this.
We live in a cynical world. A cynical world. And we work in a business of tough competitors. I love you. You complete me. And I just had...
Shut up. Just shut up. You had me at hello. You had me at hello.
Y'all just take a moment. You complete me. Isn't that great? I mean, isn't that what everybody, you complete me. Man, it's so romantic. It's so beautiful. It's such a lie. Your spouse cannot complete you. Listen, imagine this. Imagine that you're watching television and an infomercial comes on advertising a diet pill that if you take this diet pill once a day, you're going to lose 5 pounds a week every day that you take this diet pill. You order the diet pill, it comes in. You take the diet pill every day like the instructions say. 2 weeks later, you haven't lost 10 pounds. You've gained 5. Now, what are you going to think about that diet pill? You're not going to like it very much, are you? You're going to think it's deficient. You're going to think it's defunct. You're going to think there's something wrong with it. Listen, you're going to recognize, hey, listen, a diet pill can't do what it says it could do. You're going to be very unhappy with that product. What happens if you enter into a relationship with somebody in marriage thinking that they're going to bring you joy, that they're going to satisfy your soul, that they're going to give you that peace that you've been longing for, that they're going to give you that rest for your soul that you so much need, that they're going to bring you this joy that seems to be missing out of your life? What happens when you enter that relationship asking for those things from your spouse? You're going to recognize that they can't give you what you're asking for. You're going to ask too much from your spouse because your spouse cannot complete you. They cannot give you those things which you most desire. They cannot satisfy the restlessness in your soul. They cannot give you a peace that passes all understanding. They cannot give you a joy that's unspeakable despite whatever circumstances you face in life. And if you're looking to find that from your spouse, you're going to ask too much of them. And so you're going to look at them like they're broken, deficient, defunct, and you're going to think, what's wrong with this person? They can't meet my needs. And you're going to think, I must have married the wrong person. Right? Because they can't complete me. And this is why we need to understand what the scripture says. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. We go back to this verse all the time because it's at the heart of a walk with Christ. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 says this, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Seek first his kingdom. Listen, the priority here of how this works is really, really important to get. Seek first to know God and to do God's will. Seek to know God and to do God's will. And God will give you the peace that passes understanding. God will make you complete. God will heal your wounds. God will give you a joy that the world can never take away. God will satisfy the restlessness in your soul. No spouse can ever do that for you. They will never complete you. Only God can do that. The order of this is really important, because if we don't put God first and seek him first, then we're going to look from our spouse for what God can give, and we're going to be trying to suck the life out of our spouse. It's going to be like a giant vacuum sounding thing that we're going to be trying to get. I need something from my spouse and they can't give it to me. So I keep trying to take more and more and more because they're supposed to complete me. They're supposed to satisfy me. They're supposed to make me whole, right? And so I keep asking for more and for more and for more and taking more. Why can't they give me what I need? What's wrong with them? So I take more and more and more from them. And if you're on the other side of this, and your spouse keeps asking for more and more and looking at you like you're a broken machine that can't give them what they want, and they keep wanting more and more, how does that feel? Feels bad. Feels like you're hooked up to a vacuum hose that's just sucking the life out of you. Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Seek to know him, to be obedient to him. Then everything else falls into place, because when we know him first, God fills us with joy and love and peace and purpose. And we come into a relationship overflowing with love and peace and purpose and joy. And we're not able to come into that relationship to serve somebody else, because that's what marriage is. It's a calling to serve and to minister and to bless somebody else for the rest of your life. We come with the resources to bless our spouse rather than expecting them to fill us up when we are empty. That's the priority right here. Your spouse cannot complete you. Here's the truth that the scripture speaks to us. Only God completes me. We could add an addendum to that. And your spouse is not God. Only God completes me. Augustine said it this way. He said, my heart is restless till it finds its rest in you, God. In our culture, we think my heart is restless till I find my soulmate. My heart is restless till I find my true love, and then I'll be complete. Life's going to be good. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be so happy until he leaves the toilet seat up and you fall on the toilet one night, late at night, until her head spins around and she acts all crazy and you don't know why. And then you think, hey, this is not what I signed up for. I thought my spouse was going to do something for me. Only God completes you. And when you live out of that truth, listen, you begin to ask less from your spouse in a godly way. You begin not to look for them to fulfill those needs that God placed in you out of his relationship, and you begin to serve your spouse rather than suck the life out of them. Right? Only God completes me. All right, here's the third truth right here. The third truth right here. Adultery, here's the lie. Adultery is a sexual relationship with somebody not my spouse. All right, here's the lie. Adultery is a sexual relationship with someone not my spouse. Now, a lot of you guys are looking at that and going, you know what? That seems like a pretty good definition of what adultery is. Sexual relationship with someone not my spouse. Here's the problem with this lie. If you live this out, here's what this means. as long as I'm not having a sexual relationship with someone not my spouse, it's not adultery. Right? I mean, if adultery is a sexual relationship, a physical sexual relationship, then as long as I'm not having a physical sexual relationship, it's not adultery. That's a lie. Jesus said this very differently. Listen to what Jesus said, Matthew chapter 5, beginning in verse 27. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Let me read it to you again because our culture is wrong about this one. Jesus said, I tell you. Jesus said, stop listening to what they say in People magazine. Stop listening to what Oprah says. Jesus says, listen to me. I tell you this. This is the truth. That anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Jesus says adultery begins with a lingering look. Adultery begins with a thought. Adultery begins with a daydream. Adultery begins with a casual lunch. Adultery begins with an intimate conversation with someone who is not your spouse. Adultery begins with a compliment that kind of gives you tingles all over your spine, and you begin to think about that person. And at the beginning of an adulterous relationship, almost everyone always angrily denies that they are doing anything wrong. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just having lunch with this person. I'm not doing anything wrong. We're just good friends. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just helping them through a bad spot in their relationship. I'm not doing anything wrong. We just like to hang out together. I'm not doing anything wrong. You hear the lie that they're living by? The lie that they're living by is it's not an affair, it's not adultery unless it's a physical sexual relationship. And Jesus said that's a lie. Jesus says if you look at a woman lustfully in your heart, you long for her, you long for him, you long for him to meet your emotional needs, you long for her to meet your emotional needs, if you begin to find reasons to stop by their office and have a conversation with them, if you begin to look for excuses to go to lunch with them, Jesus says, no, you're already stepping into a wrong relationship. Couple after couple comes into my office to see me when they're having trouble in a relationship. And oftentimes the trouble in a relationship is a third party outside of that relationship. And I will tell couple after couple, one of the people in the relationship, I will say to them, you are having an affair. And they will say, no, I'm not. I will say, yes, you are. And they say, no, I'm not. I say, yes, you are. They say, I'm not doing anything. I haven't touched her. I haven't touched him. I'm saying you're having an affair. And then I say this, you and I have a different definition of what an affair is. We have a different definition. Because when you begin to get your emotional needs met by somebody of the opposite sex who is not your spouse, you have begun to walk down the road toward an affair. The affair has already begun. They don't start in the bedroom. They start in the mind. Jesus wants you. Jesus is trying to protect you. Jesus is trying to protect your marriage. Jesus loves you. And so he says to you, listen, protect your mind because this is where it all begins right here. And here's the truth that Jesus wants us to know. Adultery begins in the mind. And when I internalize that truth, when I believe this, it changes the way I live. When I begin to have somebody in the office and I say, you know what, I really enjoy that person, I begin to try to think up excuses to go by their office, then you know what I say to myself? Whoa, I'm starting to have an affair. Those are adulterous thoughts in my mind. When I begin to have somebody of the opposite sex and I say, you know what, I had so much fun having lunch with them. I'd love to go to lunch. Let me try to think of a reason to go to lunch with them. Boom, I begin to realize I'm engaging in an adulterous affair with someone who is not my wife. When I begin to long for the attention, the compliments of a woman who is not my spouse, I begin to understand in my mind, big alarms go off in my mind. I'm beginning to engage in an adulterous affair because it begins in the mind, not in the bedroom. And Jesus wants to protect your marriage. But he wants you to know the truth. He wants you to know the truth. Listen, I know there's somebody here today that, man, you're thinking, the Lord is convicting you of relationship right now, and you're trying to argue with him. Stop arguing with him. Let the Holy Spirit do what the Holy Spirit does, all right? Jesus is convicting you because Jesus wants to protect you, and he wants to protect your marriage. All right, so let the truth of what God says soak into your life and claim the truth. Adultery begins in the mind, not in the bedroom. All right? Here's 4. Last one. Last one right here. Marriage should be easy. That's good. I'm glad y'all are laughing. because that really is a laughable thing. You know, in all the storybooks, after people get married, what happens? They live happily ever after. That's right. I mean, it's great. You know what I mean? And if you marry the right person, right? I mean, that we all know that's the key, right? That's one of the lies of our culture. I'm not even touching on that one today. If we marry the right person, then your marriage is easy, and it's just roses and rainbows and cookies and Skittles falling down for the rest of your life. It's supposed to be easy. Now, when we believe that lie, here's how devastating it is. When we believe that lie, what happens when marriage gets hard? We think, you know what? I married the wrong person. There's something wrong with my spouse. There's something deeply wrong with my marriage. This is not the way it was supposed to be. Marriage was supposed to be easy. Something's gone horribly wrong here in my relationship. Jesus never said that marriage was supposed to be easy. In fact, the scripture tells us something that sounds a whole lot different than that. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25 says this: husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. You may give you a picture of marriage? Here it is. Here's a picture of marriage. That's it. Husbands, love your wives the way that Christ loved the church. This is what Christ did for the church. Scripture says that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. While we were turned away from him, Christ died for us. He gave up the privilege and the glory of heaven to come to the earth as a servant to serve you and I. This is what marriage looks like. It's hard work. It's a calling. It's a calling to serve and to minister and to bless another person with the love of Christ for the rest of your life. And nothing about that sounds easy. It will require sacrifice. It will require dedication. It will require change. It will require hard work to love your spouse the way that Christ loved the church. That's the truth. And when we internalize this truth, when we understand that this is what it means to be married, then we understand when those hard times come, we don't look at our spouse like there's something wrong with them. When those hard times come, we say, hey, I guess this is the time when I love my spouse like Christ loved the church. I guess this is the moment when I pick up my cross. I guess this is the moment when I really begin to serve, when I understand it's not about privilege, it's not about what I get, it's about giving my life to somebody else in a really practical way. When we understand and internalize the truth, then we live that out in our relationship. And we understand what everybody who has a great marriage understands. They're all going to have a hard time, and they all require hard work. This is the truth. This is the truth. Claim truth and live it out. Jesus offers you truth today, and the truth sets you free. It's not okay to lie. Scripture says that pretty clear. Only God completes you. Don't look for that from your spouse. Listen, believe that. Internalize that thing. Only God can complete you. Adultery begins in the mind, not in the bedroom. That's the truth that the Scripture speaks to us again and again and again. And marriage is going to require a lot of hard work. This is the truth. You believe this. You trust Him. You'll begin to live this out, what you're going to experience a lot. Let's pray. Gracious God, I thank you. I thank you for speaking truth into our life. God, I thank you that you love us enough to confront the lies of the enemy. I thank you that the one who is for us is far greater than the one who is against us. Lord, I thank you that we can come to this with great joy and anticipation of how you're going to work in our lives. And God, just pray that you'd help these 4 truths to sink deep into our hearts and lives as we think about marriage. Lord, that we might experience the life that you have for us. Lord, I thank you that you're speaking to some people today. Lord, I pray that they would not simply be hearers of the word, but doers of the word as well, that you would just allow this word to sink deep into the heart, that they might trust you, that they might take that step of faith and experience that life that only you can give. God, we thank you for what you're doing in us, around us, and through us. Lord, lift up our marriages so that we love each other the same way that Christ loved the church, so that our marriages become examples to all the world of your love for us, Lord. And we'll give you all the praise and all the thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.